This movie is like Paul Thomas Anderson saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and said, I want to do that, but worse. Welcome back to Oscar in the Middle, everybody. We are finally into awards season, technically, and today our movie in the middle is Licorice Pizza. Licorice Pizza is a slice-of-life movie about young love and shenanigans in the 1970s San Francisco, and it stars Alana Haim, Cooper Hoffman, and a variety of cameos from actors such as Bradley Cooper, Sean Penn, and Benny Safdie. So we are into Oscar season, which means that like every other year before this, I'm going to be trying to catch up on as many of the Best Picture nominees as I can that I didn't get to see from last year, plus any others that might be nominated a lot that I didn't get to see. I'm going to do my best, but, we'll see. And Licorice Pizza is nominated for Best Picture and for a lot of other things. It has been talked about a lot. So I was really excited for this, honestly, because I was in the mood for like a just slice of life, fun, let's see what these kids get into, random shenanigans and stuff. And that's kind of what this movie's like. Yeah. So I think actually that is the biggest high of the movie, is that chemistry between the two main characters, Alana and Gary Valentine. Their interactions and their friendship and everything that they do and how they talk to each other is honestly just really electric. Like, it really brings forward that casual, fun, cool, I don't know, essence of the 1970s that you see in movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or, like Dazed and Confused, where people are just cool with each other, and they just have fun with each other. And I really, really like that. That's what I love about, I think, those movies that kind of have that nostalgia for the 70s. And this was no exception because, like I said, Alana and Gary Valentine, these are the two main characters, and they're a lot of fun. They both really stick up for each other and themselves. They're both cool. They both are really confident in themselves and what they do, and they just go with the flow. So I really liked both of their characters. They were really fun apart, but then also, especially when they got together on screen, they really carried the movie. And that nostalgia is permeated through the entire thing. The tone of the movie, the aesthetic, everything that they did, production design wise, and color scheme, and I mean everything obviously looks like the 70s, but it also, I think, is probably our most recent look at that decade and how fun it was and how weird it was. And I think they did a really good job with just that kind of overall tone that we got a couple years ago in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but on a scale of these are younger people having fun and they have the whole world at their fingertips. There are also a few funny moments, not necessarily because they're genuinely funny, but because of how ridiculous the scene is that is going on in front of you. There's a lot of these kind of movies that are slice of life and just let's do whatever random thing comes to mind, and the ridiculousness of that can get kind of funny. On another hand, though, that ridiculousness can really take away from the movie. I would say that I was shocked that this script even got greenlit or written. I would say that I'm shocked that after that, it got nominated for Best Picture. But at this point, it doesn't really shock me anymore. Which is really sad. Because this script is, like, not great. For a lot of different reasons. The first reason is it is all over the place. And that's saying something considering it's a kind of movie that kind of would go all over the place. And what I mean by that is, again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Dazed and Confused, any John Hughes movie. These are the kind of movies that are very, very character-based. And all we have is these characters in wacky or interesting or emotional scenes. And sure, there's not like one through line of this specific plot going on, but our through line is those characters. And in this instance, it would be the young couple. Almost none of the scenes that happen make any sense in and of themselves or for the movie. There are so many random things that happen in this movie, and I have absolutely no idea what I was supposed to get from them. Like, I was so confused by and it's weird. It's not like just things that it's like, well, that was weird and random and wacky and they had fun with it. But it was like, oh, well, that just happens. It was things that's like, no, that doesn't just happen. and then they don't bring it up ever again. I was so confused. This was the kind of movie that I was sitting there and I was literally thinking like I could have put this on in the background while I was cleaning up or doing something here, and I could have watched it and been like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, this seems like it goes together pretty well. I bet it has a plot or, some semblance of like connectedness with these characters, but I'm just not quite getting it because I'm not really paying attention." But if I went back and watched it in full, it would make a lot more sense. You know how you've done that with movies. The problem is I was paying attention, and I was utterly confused at how any of these things were supposed to connect. Not only with each other, these scenes were supposed to connect with each other, because again, they may not in these types of movies, but with the characters and what I was supposed to get from the characters. There are like little bits of like, oh, this character is growing in this direction, or they're trying this, or they're getting together or coming apart, whatever. There's little bits of that. And like I said, that chemistry is there, and the acting is really, really good. The acting is not an issue in this movie from anybody. But the script was just a mess for me. Now, I could forgive the movie for all of that if, like I said, the thread that goes through all of it, these two main characters and their interactions and their relationship, was something that I could, in good conscience, follow. But I can't. And here's why. In the promo, it doesn't say this as far as I know. It's not marketed this way. But Alana is 25 and Gary Valentine is 15. They begin the movie straight from the go with entertaining the idea of pedophilia is tolerable and continue from there. How in the hell am I supposed to, in good conscience, root for these characters to get together? I love their friendship. Their friendship was fine, even if that was still a little shady. And again, I'm not saying, because like nowadays we are very, very protective of all that stuff and very aware of all of that. She even says in the first scene, she even mentions that it's illegal. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but you can probably tell based off of just what the movie's about and everything and how these movies usually go, that at some point they do end up together. They do choose to be together. And that's the message of the movie, is I guess pedophilia is okay. So I didn't know what to think of that. You know, I mean, obviously you can have pedophilia or any type of thing that we're like that, you know, that's not okay. You can have that in a movie where the message is that's not okay. And we're showing it to you, but showing why it's not okay. The message here was, well, if you like each other enough and life isn't going well for you outside of this, then I guess we're just going to be together. And like that in and of itself was like, even if they were both teenagers or both adults, that in and of itself was like, okay, well, I mean, you shouldn't just come together just because like everything else is going wrong. I mean, yeah, they did have a connection that was great, but besides that, it's illegal and fucking gross. And so that really, really turned me off because I couldn't believe that they were even entertaining that at the beginning and then went through with it at the end. And that was the only thing that was supposed to anchor me to this random series of events. And I couldn't even in good conscience follow that or root for that. So I basically was left watching a movie I couldn't care about and didn't want to attach to because I shouldn't. And then it went on forever. Like it went on forever. And it just felt like the scenes that came closer to the end, they could have just kept going with these different types of scenes where they just keep going to different places and I would never know when the end is. Like if I didn't have a clock, I would have thought I was there like 4 hours. Oh, and if that wasn't bad enough, then there's this running bit in the beginning of the movie where John Michael Higgins, who's a great actor, his character is somebody who is married to a Japanese woman and they own a Japanese restaurant. Every time he talks to her in English with a Japanese accent. So he'll be like, how do you like the newspaper ad? And I'm like, what?
How you think of this? What do you think of item for newspaper?
Why is this here? Because again, it's that type of thing that you can put that in a movie if there's a point to it being in the movie and being like, yeah, that's racist and we know that. But all it was for a stupid punchline. So I wasn't even offended on the fact that it was racist because we all know that that's racist. I mean, that's not even a question. I was offended on the fact that it wasn't funny. There was no point to it being there. because it wasn't funny, because all it was racist. So there was, I mean, I feel preachy about this. Like, I don't want, someone to just think I'm just ripping this movie for like having some humor or whatever. But like, there's no point to some of these things. One last thing that I thought was really weird. So obviously the title is Licorice Pizza, and that's a really wacky title. And you're probably wondering, what does that refer to in the movie? And here's the answer. I don't know. They never ever bring it up. It never comes up once. So I looked it up afterward, and it kind of makes sense. It actually is reference to an old like record store that was really famous, I think, around that area, as well as licorice pizza was like a slang term for a vinyl because it's smooth and black like licorice and also small and round like a pizza. So like, okay, that makes sense. It is a cool bit, I will say that. It's not necessarily a low, but it was just kind of weird for me that they would have something so specific and not even mention it in the movie. I guess it's one of those things like the title of a poem that it makes you think even more, and okay, because it doesn't mention it, maybe it has another effect on the poem, whatever. So overall, Licorice Pizza was a massive disappointment for me, not because it's a slice of life movie, which you guys know I have a hard time watching because I like structure, but I actually just watched Portrait of a Lady on Fire 2 days ago, and that doesn't have a whole lot of structure because it is just a very simple movie based on characters, and I loved the crap out of that, and I can talk about that another time. But this one, then comparatively, watching it the very next day, rubbed me the wrong way a little bit because it was like an example of what not to do on so many levels of this kind of story. And again, I can forgive a bad script, but I can't forgive promoting pedophilia. A lot of you might say it wasn't trying to promote it, but I mean, watch the movie and then tell me what it was trying to do. I don't know. I don't think I understand it. And the thing is I don't want to actively say I don't like Licorice Pizza because I really wanted to. I just can't think of any reasons I actually want to defend it. Does that make sense? So like, if you have comments about it or thoughts about it, or maybe something I'm missing, put them in the comments below, because I want to know what everybody thinks about this movie, because it just blows my mind that it's been nominated for Best Picture. But again, it kind of doesn't. I think I'm going to get a lot of flack on this one, but I'm going to give Licorice Pizza a 1 out of 4. I really wanted to give it more, guys. I did. There's nothing I feel like I can actually attach to in this movie. I mean, emotionally a little bit, yes, but in terms of like what I should be following, I just can't. So I think I'm being a little generous with it, but I think that's mostly for the visual aspect of it, which was great. And the soundtrack, everything aesthetically was actually really great. And the nostalgia part of it was cool, but just watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Dazed and Confused. You'll get the same effects and emotions, but it'll be better. Well, let me know in the comments below what you think.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
And look forward to more Oscar in the middle stuff as I try to catch up as quickly as I can. And also look forward to the nominations for my awards coming out soon, because we're, I think, about a week away. I'm going to put those out, and then everybody can start to vote. So look forward to all that. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.